I saw the church and I thought that it might be something very, very unique.
That facility was just built in a pristine state many, many years ago.
I was just taken aback. I had no idea all of what was there.
It represents all that Windsor is.
It was a very big part of my family's life.
It's a precious piece of Canadian culture, of Canadian architecture.
All of what goes on there is essential.
What has happened is simple. The reality is the church, which was established in the middle 1800s, is falling down. It is in terrible shape physically, and it really is one of those institutions, quite apart from the religious aspect, that ought to be preserved.
History and heritage, particularly built heritage, are to a community and a society what memory is to an individual.
I think it's important for us to know, what Windsor was. It was a great heritage site. It was a great original settler area.
Assumption is one of the first churches in Canada. This was here before the city was here. When that church was built, there's nothing around it. There's no bridge, there's nothing. It's the first church built by the settlers. It has some of the first carvings of the French people. It's the place where they had the first contact with the Huron Indians and started the mission.
The Hurons in that area were First Nations, like my First Nation. While it's a Catholic church, it came from the Hurons as a gift to the church.
When you walk into Assumption Church in Windsor, you have a strong sense of the years that have passed since that structure was erected in the 1840s.
It truly was a safe haven for people to come from within the community or from outside the community and feel welcome, to feel that they were among equals and among a friendly environment where they could rely on for help if needed, whether it was food or shelter, or just from camaraderie.
That church protected a lot of people crossing that river. It gave home and food to a lot of settlers traveling down and trying to find their way into other parts of Canada.
Assumption Parish was established as a mission that was established in 1701.
From the very beginning we were here, Assumption was the parish that served quite a large geographic area in this part of southwestern Ontario.
It's an original.
It's a community landmark.
That's what brought people to this area. When you drove down that waterway, you saw the steeple of the church. That was the icon. That was the high-rise building of the city. What's amazing about the old buildings is that these guys cared about every little detail that they made, whether it was going to be seen or whether it was not going to be seen. And they spared no expense to do it the right way every time.
From the facade on the outside to your first step through large steel doors, not something you see in construction today, and the copper and bronze used to construct that facility is certainly beyond anything that you see today around here.
It is very traditional European architecture. There is a very good craftsman work and very impressive pieces of art inside the church.
I grew up in Windsor. I know the Windsor area and some of the Windsor history. And I know how important Assumption Parish and Assumption Church is to this city, not just the Catholic community, but the whole city.
There are children and grandchildren who may have never donned the doors of a church, all of a sudden see the grandeur of what the church really was and what it really is today.
I'm not Christian, I'm not a religious person, so I come to the church just to touch the history.
The people who surround Assumption are engaged in a variety of different ways. That experience is essential to their lives.
The majority of my life growing up, my mother and father were very involved, from ushering to being a part of the whole church festivals of events and communities and decorating the church at Christmas.
I was in the choir in grades 3, 4, and 5, and then I was an altar boy until I was 20 years of age.
We have 7 children. 6 of them were baptized and First Communion and Confirmation, and the girls were all married in this church, 4 girls.
I was married at this church. My great-great-great-great-grandmother was married at this church, and I want my 9-year-old son to be married in this church.
There's just so many people like myself that have had great experiences at Assumption Church. I think the future is bright and it's exciting, but it's only going to be bright and exciting if people like myself and others get involved in helping make and build that future.
So if you want to make this building more precious, or if you want to make this building a useful entity, for next generations to come, you need to enhance it. It needs to continue to have life. It needs to continue to grow.
The Diocese of London really had a difficult decision to make. What were we going to do with a church that we've had for centuries, but that really needed a major renovation, restoration work? We knew it was well beyond the capacity of the parish alone to do it. Even if we were to pool all the resources of the diocese, which we couldn't do, we wouldn't be able to do it. It was important then to reach out to the community, and the response has been remarkable.
In looking at the site, we first of all started with the functionality of the site, the opportunity to improve access, to improve parking, and in so doing, we freed up spaces to bring a new language to the site in terms of a series of initiatives and gardens, which will bring another quality to the site itself. We want the church to sit in a green resource. Sustainability is an objective that we're really seeking to, to bring to all aspects of the design itself. It has a series of mature existing trees which we want to preserve.
By greening the area immediately to the east side of the church, that will help to make the church a lot more welcoming. It'll help to put it back in the original true setting that it was meant to be in. There's been some really unique ideas designed on the outside area for students to feel comfortable, to be able to relax in that setting. There's a children's area that's been designed. There's a mother's garden where we hope that families will feel comforted or loved just walking in.
There will be an orientation pavilion where a lot of wayfinding and information can be brought forward, where buses can bring numerous people to the site. There are spaces such as an amphitheater.
And now there's talk about a heritage center in the building, a kind of a museum that talks about the heritage of our community here in Windsor.
The Heritage Project will help people to understand not only the church, but the dedication of the Basilian Fathers, how they established Assumption University and Assumption High School, how their dedication to this community for many, many generations is really carved what we are today.
Properly restored and maintained, a building this kind should last for literally hundreds of years, but it deserves the attention as it ages so the building remains protected.
The community and the campus and the city at large will have this incredible new resource to enjoy over a long period of time.
But there's going to have to be a lot of work done, and it's well worth doing.
So this is the opportunity we have right now to fix the church. It hasn't happened before, so the stage is set right now to fix it. Every historic building has a purpose. It has something which is intangible. It has history attached to it that people understand and that people love.
I think that history is very important, and sometimes we're too quick to erase the mark of time, and it's time that Windsor found some specific places and held the mark of time.
We need to get involved so others can share. Future generations will benefit.
If we're going to put our mark somewhere, why not put it on a project that's going to be protected for many generations to come? And it's important to step forward and say, you know what, I agree, the community needs this. I'll stand up and say, please help support it. Please be a part of it.
There are very few precious resources left. Assumption is one of the most precious ones in Canada. This has to be done, and it has to be done right.